Yes, I'm back with more. It's time for yet more Type 40, a little extra Type 40 here for you on the Spacebook channel. Once again with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. And yes, she's back once again. It's very much the Holly to my Phil. Or should that be the other way around? I'm not quite that grey yet, Phil. Not that quite that grey. Yes, Sarah Graham, Starry Eyed Girl. Hello.
Hello again. Good afternoon. But you have got a grey hat, so you could.
Yeah, that's as near as I'm going to get for the time being. Although, yeah, it is very much starting to go that way. I need to get a haircut. That's what the hat's all about, everybody. These hats are comfortable anyway, and I do love them. But yeah, I need to go and get a haircut, and I've been a bit too lazy, a bit too preoccupied with things. Let's put this on for a moment and remind them. So yeah, please like the video now, because you're going to be having so much fun later on. It's going to slip your mind. It's only natural. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel too, because we do this all the time, drop live streams and podcasts and whatever else, and hit the cloister bell so you get the notifications about when we're doing whatever we're doing. Because Sarah, we had some lovely comments after the last one of these videos, didn't we? Have you seen?
I have seen. Yeah, I always read the comments, and yeah, it was lovely that it was well received, because it was pretty much recorded on the fly, wasn't it? We just decided we were going to do it.
Yeah, and so same with this, really. I mean, the most crucial matter, I think, of the whole thing, to get this out of the way first, is that we asked, didn't we? The very crucial question, the one that's on everybody's lips in the wake of the sort of ratings disaster and the question about who's going to be the next Doctor Who. We asked, what does the Sea Devil have for lunch, didn't we? Do you remember? Yeah, and our crowd being such as that, we have actually had an answer. So we've got this that's come in from As Dead as Dillinger on YouTube, who says that he believes it's pizza with anchovies. Crucially, the anchovies is stipulated anchovies, because they are an advanced alien civilization. So there we go. That does seem it's feasible. What do you think?
Definitely feasible. It is. I'm just struck by how dejected that Sea Devil looks.
They all look somewhat forlorn, don't they? For one reason or another. I don't know, but maybe they had a premonition, didn't they, about what the old ratings would be on that. Yeah. So here we are. Here we are again. I mean, it's the afternoon for us, but I think you'll probably be getting this video in the evening. So we're during office hours, hence the picture, and you're catching up again. But it's been all go on the Doctor Who front, but not concerning Doctor Who itself, Sarah. It's all stuff that's going on in the community, as always, in the console room, the virtual console rooms. We've got a couple of little things to talk about, and one in particular I very much wanted your input on, because you've probably got more experience with it than I have, really. And well, actually, I'm going to show people. This is a little bit like that moment, isn't it, from Day of the Doctor? Do you remember when we're all heightened? It's going into the conclusion, isn't it? And we're wondering what's going to happen. And the Time Lords are under siege by the Daleks, and they've sent the call out, haven't they? And all those police boxes descend, don't they, out of the vortex? Do you remember that?
I do indeed. Brilliant moment.
It is. And then they say, don't they? They say, all the doctors are here, all 12. And then somebody says, what do they say?
No, sir, all 13.
They did, didn't they? And then you get the flash. Then you get, all you see, isn't it, is a pair of eyes there. But of course, so I never tell her what's coming up on these videos. So of course, in the Day of the Doctor, we get Peter Capaldi's sort of big bushy eyebrows, don't we? But it's a very different pair of eyes that we're looking at now. And what does this represent, Sarah? Do you want to tell people why I've got this?
Yeah, this is my moniker. This is why I'm called Starry Eyed Girl. This is what I'm talking about. It isn't because I want to be a celebrity or anything like that. It's because of Galadriel and the stars in her eyes, because she's seen the tree of Eleanor. But yeah, what this means is, yes, this was my name on Twitter up until a couple of years ago, where I decided to leave for my own sanity. And yeah, as of a couple of days ago, when this goes out, yeah, I am back on Twitter.
Well, yeah, I mean, you say for your own sanity, but I remember at the time, I'd only joined a few months before, and then you immediately go, and I thought, oh God, something I said.
It wasn't you.
But of course, this has been a very, very big week for Twitter generally. Just in case you've been living under a rock or you're not particularly interested in social media stuff, Elon Musk, the Tesla guy, the PayPal guy, clinched this deal, didn't he, to buy Twitter for $44 billion cash. That was on Monday, just gone, in what they're saying at I think this is the New York Times, says it's a transaction that will shift control of the social media platform that's populated by millions of users and global leaders to the world's richest person there in Elon Musk. Apparently he's the richest man that's ever lived, Sarah.
Is he really? I didn't know that. I know he'd got a fortune, but yeah, that's impressive. I'll give him that. And it does seem to like to get things done.
Twitter has only been around for 16 years, and yet it seems like so much longer. There was a reference to it in one of Russell T Davies' Doctor Who's, wasn't there?
I think, was it? No, I don't know if it was Russell or was it Matt Smith?
It was Stevens.
It might have been Stephen.
Yeah. You lose track after a while, don't you? Because they only ever drop them into the low level.
I think it was in, is it the Bells of St. John? I'm sure somebody will let us know in the chat.
It sounds like it could be feasible. Yeah, because I'm not massively up on these things. One of these sort of big businessmen is much the same as another to me. But obviously, being a Twitter user, being social media users as we are, we're on various platforms, obviously, just as Type 40, because it simply pays to promote what we do and to expand audiences and things like that. But you see all sorts. And I remember when I joined Twitter in 2019, and I was struck by several things. But I think the thing that surprised me most, Sarah, was that I'd heard all sorts of hellish stories. And when I initially joined it and started following people, I actually found everybody to be lovely. Really quite on the surface, really welcoming, and a lot of people who shared my interests the way that you do, and not just with Doctor Who, but with geek culture and with creativity too. I always say that Twitter is a really, really creative platform. You'd think that it would be the other way around and that people would be using Facebook in a more creative way, but they don't. You get the odd sort of online comic book on Facebook, but that's pretty much where it ends. Whereas over on Twitter, people try all sorts of projects, don't they? From kickstarting them to actually running them in slideshows and things.
Yeah, I also think there's a sense of immediacy with Twitter. And I don't know if that's just because of the word limit, but TV shows were very quick, to use the tweets as a way of getting in touch, as like a live thing, whereas you can't really do that with Facebook. I know they added Facebook Live, but it's not quite the same thing. But it is a brilliant way of just getting that kind of instant feedback, whether that's good, bad, constructive criticism. It's there.
Well, it's been described, Sarah, as the global public square, and the more I think about that, the more I think, that's really quite apt, because it's free. Anybody can have a Twitter account, just like anybody can speak, anybody can have a voice, and you can reach out to other people, providing that they decide they don't want to hear from you or whatever else. That's up to the individual. But otherwise, it's in theory, it should be a wide open space. And I do know people who've been on Twitter for most of those 16 years. There's one guy on Twitter in particular who's been there a very long time, and he said it used to be a really lovely place. But what I found initially was that my initial feelings about it as being this sort of welcoming, creative environment all changed the very week that Doctor Who came back for Series 12. All of a sudden, it all changed, because I went from a situation where I felt that there was all these people I was connected to, and there was a crossover of interests, to you put your opinion on Twitter about an episode of Doctor Who then. And I think it was Orphan 55 was the one that really sort of showed it to me. You became sort of hit with a wall of disapproval and name calling, the like of which I had certainly never seen on Facebook. The ferocity and the volume of it too, and also people really acting in what I at the time then, before I really knew the culture at Twitter. Obviously, people would retweet your words as if to make an example of you. As if, look at what this arsehole said, and you think, whoa, but that's not what I meant. It's what you said, sunshine. And it was like, this place. Now I understood what a monster it could be and why it drove some people to distraction. But it's been nearly 2 years since you left the platform, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. It is. Yeah, it was May 2020. I remember it because it was just as the tweet-alongs, the Doctor Who tweet-alongs were kind of ending, and again, that seemed to be just like this little oasis, in this desert, because that for a few weeks, we had this lovely kind of community thing going off where everybody seemed to come together, and it didn't matter the level of creativity that the images. Then we had poems, then when we the more people who joined in, we got animations and like semi-professional things going off, from.
It seemed to expand by the week, didn't it? In its ambition and in the amount of people it was reaching and the amount of people that it was involving too. I mean, several of them came to talk to us on Type 40, people like Dr. Andrew Ireland, Dominic Martin, Jas Singh, who's been a regular on several of our shows. We all got quite heavily involved in it to one degree or another.
Yeah, and people who weren't on Twitter who came on just for that, like Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat. Stephen Moffat hates Twitter. He came, and it was such a joyous few weeks. And inevitably that got spoiled as
soured.
Well. But just the wall. It's not just one person disagreeing with you, and it isn't just a disagreement. It's a flat out. No, you're just like a wall hitting you. No, you are wrong. You are this. You are that. I'm gonna, like you said, make an example. It's the equivalent of, being made to.
Because Sarah, it's not just somebody It's not just somebody having a different opinion to you, is it? It's nothing so passive and respectful as that. It's gone from a public square to being a kind of war zone. That's how it felt. Words were weaponized.
You get a lot of executions in public squares back in the olden days, and that's.
Of course you do.
And obviously, the minute, and you weren't even necessarily doing or saying anything particularly, inflammatory. You just, give an opinion about things, and then people would just appear. And like you said, they'd retweet and go, "Look at this person," and then suddenly a pylon would happen, and it was just absolutely horrible. And obviously,
the end result was, though, I think that people started to moderate and censor themselves in their own heads, because there isn't, like you said, there is an immediacy to Twitter, isn't there? It's an initial thought, and you tap it out and you tweet it instantly, and there's no edit button either. You can delete a tweet, but you can't edit it, you can't refine your train of thought. It goes right out there, and people jump on it right away, and that's both a blessing in some respects, because the conversation can feel very alive, but it can backfire, can't it? And so what people did, I think what people began to do over a period of time, they're probably doing it long before I arrived on the platform, is that they began to self-censor and make that decision whether they were going to remain in a community and to be almost passive to this sort of greater will and be part of a hive mind, or and surrender in some respects their own right to freedom of speech and the ability to express themselves. And what I think we're now seeing since this sale went through, it's just a few days ago, and it's by no means complete. Apparently this is going to take several months before it all happens. And Musk is talking about moving Twitter from its present headquarters in California all the way over to Florida, and all these big sweeping changes, which cause a massive meltdown. It's absolutely hilarious. But I think what it means really and all that, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be hilarious. It's going to be like a circus.
I've already had my popcorn out this week.
But for us, I think the intention is, because somebody asked Elon Musk, because he calls himself a free speech absolutist. You think, what the hell does that mean? Because it's easy, isn't it, to be suspicious of people with this amount of money and this amount of on the surface, power. But one thing I believe in the time that I've been following the story is that Elon Musk has shown that he doesn't really care about money. He's proven he's got more money than anybody who's ever lived. And he didn't earn it in the conventional way that a lot of people did. It happened really quite quickly for him. He describes it as sort of 1 minute he had the money, and the next, almost like the next minute, he'd got it. He went from rags to riches quite quickly in those terms through PayPal or whatever else. But he says that free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity can be debated. And he's right, isn't he? But of course, like any discussion, it all sort of filters down. The principle is the same whether you're talking about huge global issues. And I've noticed already on the platform in the last 2 or 3 days, I don't really engage in proper politics on there, but I'm very aware that there were some subjects that it had got to the point that you couldn't talk about them. We certainly can't talk about them on YouTube, public health matters. Yeah. But now all that is starting to open up, which means that people can share their experiences. It doesn't mean that anybody's good or evil, or people who voted one way or the other are to blame. It means that people can start having conversations again, comparing one another's stories and moving on, because like I said, it's vital to the future of humanity that there's this sort of freedom of conversation. But when we self-censor ourselves, we deny ourselves the freedom and the comfort to speak truthfully as who we are, don't we? And you found that weighing on you quite heavily, didn't you, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, but you don't feel authentic anymore. And another thing I noticed that you're talking about the conversation is everything suddenly became black or white. Yeah. When, there's a lot of areas that are grey, and that's a brilliant picture. You're either with us or against us, and this could be anything from like political or, Doctor Who, and the various fandoms, and if you follow that person, you must be like this. There was a lot of that, and this is what.
Well, the way I see it, Sarah, if they'll be this militant and this intransigent and this vicious. In trying to take people's careers away from them, in harming their family lives over a simple telly show, something on the TV that's all made up, then how do they behave about those big issues that affect everybody, if not on a day-to-day basis, but certainly as an ongoing thing, public health crises and things like that?
I honestly, I don't know how they function in real life. I think they must just have this bubble around them, and any kind of reality. It must be just so difficult. And that's the other thing about this, because obviously then you're surrounding yourself with people, and it can very easily become an echo chamber. And this is why you need both sides. Even if you don't agree with it, you need the access to both sides to be able to make informed decisions. And, and sometimes, listening to another perspective, you might actually learn something yourself when you think about something another way. Yeah. There's a lot to be learned from Twitter, from, engaging in conversations, meeting new people, meeting people we wouldn't necessarily get a chance to meet. How many people do we know across the fandom that are in different countries? Yeah. From all walks of life, and it should be this wonderful tool. It does make the world.
It should open up thought, open up thought, open up conversation, open up connection, not close them down. And I've noticed just in the last few days, Twitter is already changing. I've been on it steadily. I've been on it most days. I'm only ever off it for like a couple of days at the most, for one reason or another, either on my own account, at the Spacebook, at Twitter, everybody go and follow me there, or at Type 40 on Twitter too.
That was a smooth plug there.
I know. So I'm on it, in one capacity or another, most days. But I am noticing now that things are already changing, and particularly in the Doctor Who community. There's a couple of women in particular that I follow. We've had one of them on the show, and another woman who's about my age, who's been really generous in the things that she's posted in the past, but both of them in the last few days have tweeted very similar statements saying, look, and I don't know whether this is a consequence, Sarah, of the fact Legend of the Sea Devils was so badly received and the ratings were so bad just a week ago as we're recording this. So I don't know if it's a consequence of that or the fact that Elon has bought Twitter and all of a sudden free speech is back on the table, because both of them said, look, I'm surmising here. I'm not going to give their names, but both of them said a version of this. They said, look, I'm going to just come out and say this. I hope nobody hates me for it. If you unfriend me, then whatever. But I haven't really enjoyed Jodie's Doctor Who. It's fine if you have. It hasn't really been my thing, and I'm really looking forward to what's coming next. And they've said, I haven't really enjoyed the X, Y, and Z. If you have, that's all right. But please don't hate me. That kind of thing. But how long have those two women been bottling that up? I suspect it's been far longer than Legend of the Sea Devils. And I further suspect that they're just two of probably dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of Doctor Who fans who use Twitter and who are part of the community and who are afraid to speak. Because I've also I've been unfriended and in some cases blocked by people who I thought were friends of mine. I thought we had a mutual respect at least, but it's like, oh no, he said something that's beyond the pale or something, an opinion that I can't get on board with. And I just hope that kind of changes now and a bit of tolerance comes back into the equation.
Well, this is it is just respect and tolerance. I mean, there's a difference, between going on Twitter and looking for a fight and, deliberately posting things. I'm hoping that's going to change as well. But, it'll never go away completely because unfortunately, that is human nature. There'll always be some. But, majority, just listen and, right, if it's a different opinion, okay, that's cool. That's all right, you do you, and I'll do me.
Well, exactly. And people might wonder, why are you guys talking about Twitter? Twitter isn't important. It's certainly not a real place. We know that. But I think Elon's quite right. It is the global public square, and it does have huge potential to be considerably more than that. He's talking about unlocking it. And when they asked him about freedom of speech, what do you think free speech actually means? And he said something along the lines of, it's the freedom for somebody you don't like to say something you don't like. And that doesn't make him... That is so true. That bang on the money. There are no ifs, there are no buts. And I've seen people describe Elon Musk as a complete idiot and a buffoon and all this. I've seen all sorts in the last few days. And I've seen other people describe him as a genius. I don't think he's either of those things. But I think he is speaking pretty crystal clear English and saying things that are provably true. And given the fact that this only happened 3 or 4 days ago and already Twitter is changing and becoming a freer place where people can begin to speak more truthfully, I think it has to be a good thing. But in Doctor Who's terms and the culture war terms, it's a massively important victory, I think, for common sense and for real debate. And if people say, well, how important is it really? Is it really that important? Yes, it is. You can tell how important it is because of the thrashing and the wailing that is going on from all the people who objected to this even becoming a possibility, let alone a reality. This is reality biting pretty damn hard. And in Doctor Who terms, I suppose the most crucial thing that's it's been proven over the last few years is that Twitter has been a kind of ground zero for cancel culture, hasn't it? And there's been several Doctor Who personalities have been on the receiving end of cancel culture, none more so than John Barrowman, Sarah. All that about John Barrowman's conduct on the set of Doctor Who in 2006 to 2008, all of that sprang to life and gained momentum and size through Twitter. I actually watched that happen. I watched the feed. I don't think I'd been following him for very long at that point. And it's pretty much, we know that it got him removed from further episodes and they cancel comic books and all that kind of thing. But John is just one example of many, many people. Obviously, there are people out there who have been exposed on Twitter, whereby victims, genuine victims of some terrible crimes, have been able to get together, share that, and make a difference. But that's not what this is it? This is pretty much just tittle tattle.
This was just like the mob mentality and this kind of, guilty until proven innocent. With a lot of things, and the fact that when people say Twitter isn't important, well, it is, because you get enough like-minded people together, you can cancel people. It's horrible.
They tried to end John Barrowman's career, and they certainly affected his mental health. He's very, very conscious of it, Sarah. You hear him talk about it.
Well, I'm not surprised. And again, any kind of like retroactive guilt. I had like sports people, cricketers and footballers, things they'd said 10 years ago when they were a teenager. They might have said something really dumb, suddenly pulled back, put in the spotlight, and I just think there's something really insidious about people going back into your feed. Just looking for anything, any kind of dirt, anything to prove that you're not, this.
Yeah, to discredit you, to dehumanize you, to other you, and to silence you. That's what they're really trying to do, to completely silence you. And they even managed to silence John Barrowman for a time. I mean, it's only really taken effect in Great Britain. He's continued to find work in other countries, and I think his career is sort of recovering. But we have heard some rumors. I don't know if you've heard this. I only heard this rumor myself a couple of hours ago. So apparently, a Torchwood revival, a proper series 5 of Torchwood on TV, was right on the brink of being commissioned by the BBC, with Toby Whithouse in the frame to be the showrunner, just as this with John Barrowman all happened on Twitter and was all put out in the open, and it was shut down, and he was cancelled. Now, this isn't a reputable source that I've got. This is something that I've read, but I've read it 2 or 3 times now. So I suppose it's feasible, isn't it?
Definitely feasible, and just keep Christian Mill out of it. Toby Whithouse, is a brilliant writer, and Torchwood to this day still has its fans. It was a popular show. It's got its own, dedicated fan group, and several fan groups, and there's a lot of fondness for it. So it would. The
idea that that a whole project could potentially get cancelled like that, though, involving somebody like Toby, who's a great writer, and John and whoever else, just to rejuvenate that concept, and it could just be snuffed out instantly because of stuff on Twitter.
It's the fear, and this runs throughout everything. Companies and the TV bigwigs, and they're all running scared. Everybody's too scared to speak out. This is how we got the mess with comics. With movie studios at the minute. Everybody's too scared to speak out about anything. Can't upset this section of people, or we can't do this, or we can't do that. And when did everything get so restrictive? It's suffocating.
That's a perfect word. It is suffocating. And even I found myself, to a certain degree, on Facebook as well, come to think of it, but certainly on Twitter, thinking, how have I worded that? Is that what I really meant come across in there? Because some things that I've said on my personal account have been taken the wrong way by people, and certainly the tone in which they've been said has been taken the wrong. Sometimes I've said things which have been I thought were quite comical, and I thought it was quite obvious that I was joking. But in certain instances, people have thought I was being deathly serious. It's been, look at this guy. And there was another guy who was sort of taking exception to the fact that we run this podcast, and it was sort of, who does he think he is, and all this kind of stuff. And I said something really quite self-deprecating, and he just didn't pick up on that at all. It's like, oh, look at this guy and all this sort of stuff. Birmingham's king of the geeks. You know, he hadn't picked up that's an irony in there. That is a joke in itself.
Under
my
that
mind.
heart, there's a big crown. That's what you can't see.
Yeah. But it just blew my mind at the time that somebody could take something which I thought was so simple and so obvious and misread it. But of course, if we want to misread something, then we will, and we can't legislate for people like that. We can't do that in our day-to-day lives in the real world. So we're certainly not going to be able to do it on Twitter.
No, it'd be impossible. But you do end up starting to be like that. You know, you're reading stuff. Could this be twisted that way? Could it be twisted that way? Is the tone right? And you know, you ain't got enough time in the day. Like you said, you just have to.
Well, I can go for. Sometimes I tweet something, and I forget about it for hours later. I might go back to it if somebody's asked me a question or whatever else. But a lot of the time, I've completely, it's totally left my mind and left my feed by the time I look again. You know, and sometimes that comes back to me, and somebody says, "Oh, you said this a few days ago," and I think, "Did I? I probably did. Oh, well, nobody died, did they? What the hell? How are you now? You recovered. It was all right." Yes, you can't legislate for stupidity or well, you can't legislate for how anybody else's mind works. So all I intend to continue doing is to post in good faith, which is what I've always done, and to speak with conviction with my own voice, and to try and unlearn some of that self-censorship that I think I have picked up, Sarah.
Yeah, I think we're all a little bit guilty of it. It's something that it seems to just comes with the territory and the fact, and it just kind of creeps up in you. But like you say, you know, if you worry all the time about if you're going to offend one person, you know, you'd never, you know, you wouldn't talk. It's just impossible. I think people just need to grow up, maybe not take it so seriously. Bring the fun back. But I have noticed. I mean, I've only been on. I'm back on Twitter for about 2 days, but I've noticed so much fun already. And when I've followed other accounts, they're all commenting.
It's definitely.
You know, this is the most fun I've had in ages. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what's on Twitter, and people do seem to be, you know, in a much more pleasanter frame of mind, which has been lovely to see.
Yeah, freedom of speech does absolutely matter. And if I want to say that Jenna Coleman's got nice baps, I'm going to bloody well say it. There we are. Yes, I don't miss that. And this is just another reminder to please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more of this for Type 40 Extra, Type 40 Live, and Type 40 a Doctor Who podcast. Or if you like to get your podcast through the podcatcher of your choice, you may have Spotify, for example, Audible, or Apple Podcasts. Any of the podcatchers, you can find us on there with not just the podcast itself, but podcast editions, audio editions of all the live streams we do as Type 40 Live. That's going to be back as well here on the YouTube channel in a few weeks' time. We promise. We're tweaking, nipping, and tucking to think again, Sarah, for what season 5 could be like. We're not going to reinvent the wheel on this. We like it as it is too, but we do like to move it up, to change it up as we progress, as we grow with the show. And yes, there will be the opportunity, because numerous people have reached out to us, Sarah, about these Type 40 Live mugs. There should be an opportunity to purchase your own coming up. If that all comes together, we'll do our very best. Yeah, it is exciting, isn't it? See, what's also exciting? This. Take a look. Take a look at this.
It's amazing that my name is being associated with it, and I just feel honoured with everything that's happened in the last couple of years. So yeah, it's a real privilege.
So that's Lydia West. She has been speaking about Doctor Who. Obviously, her name's been mentioned surrounding Doctor Who now for how long? Probably nearly a year.
Yes.
All because she was in It's a Sin.
Yes.
That's the only reason. That's the only
reason. It's been like, just like basically the rumour mill. It's just everybody who's ever worked with RTD.
Yeah. And so they asked her outright, what about these rumours that you could be the next Doctor Who. And the good news is she's completely denied
It's such an iconic role. Like I'm not the Doctor, I'm not the next Doctor, but it's amazing that my name is being associated with it, and I just feel honoured with everything that's happened in the last couple of years. So yeah, it's a real privilege.
Well, as Ian might say, she's lying.
She is such a lovely girl, though, isn't she? Look at that smile.
She is, right? We might expect she might turn up in an episode. I think she's a great actress.
I'd love to see her in Doctor Who.
She's definitely not Doctor material. No offense to her. She's
just because somebody's been great in one particular role in one particular show, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're right to play the Doctor. Does it, Chris?
No.
Does it? No. But some of us, Sarah, had to find that out the hard way.
Yes.
Yes. So how do you feel the same way as I do? Then it's no great loss, bless her, but we'd love to have her in the show.
You know, I don't know if you ever saw before when Jodie was announced. Before we saw her in Doctor Who, she was in another drama on the BBC, and it was called Trust Me, where she impersonated a doctor,
a medical
doctor.
That, yeah.
And she was pretty good in that. And I was it kind of gave me hope. She was more believable, doing that. I think them kind of roles she's better suited for. But it was just ironic that she was impersonating a doctor before she was impersonating a doctor.
Yes, it has been remarked upon before, hasn't it? Definitely has. I remember that show. And somebody was talking about this on Twitter as well. So yeah, I've said before how much I enjoyed her in Broadchurch, Attack the Block, and Venus, the film she did with Peter O'Toole. Loved that. Several things, but no, just because you enjoy them. A mutual friend of ours, said at the time, didn't he, that she just didn't have the range for the part, and he was absolutely right. There is somebody else who's been talking about Doctor Who this week. And if you're aware of this guy, you may have seen his work. It's the Scottish actor David Tennant. He's 51 years of age.
Never seen him before in my life.
Yes, so he's been at a convention just this last week over in Germany. Did you hear about this?
Yes, I've seen a little bit about it. The rumour mill got turning again.
Well, I was going to read this up, but we might as well hear David Tennant talk about it ourselves. I think this is what he's got to say.
Right. Do you all know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Some of you do. There are whispers because Russell T. Davies is coming back to Doctor Who.
I know.
And a little birdie told me,
Yes.
he was bringing you with him.
Was that little birdie called the internet?
Got great comic timing, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing about this, I've been asked a version of this question.
For the last 20
years, yeah. And I've learned through bitter experience that there's not any point even answering it, because whatever I say is spun by whoever wants to hear it. So there's no point in me denying it, there's no point in me confirming it, there's no point in me fudging it. Whatever I say will become whatever the internet wants it to be.
There's a man at the end of his tether, Sarah.
It's just summed up Twitter.
It's it would be quite a weird idea.
Of course.
And it's not something that you would necessarily expect from Doctor Who. So that's all I'm not going to try getting anyone back. What's the point?
It's kind of that, really, isn't it? It's a bit like that.
Yeah, but did you see how his eyes lit up though when Russell was mentioned? He's so happy that Russell is coming back. That is genuine reaction.
I think he is. I think he's happy as a fan. I mean, it was a brush off, but it was a well-meant brush off, and he knows because he's a fan, doesn't he? But you know what I kept thinking the entire time I was watching that? Was David Tennant got such great taste in socks? Did you notice? He always dresses so cool and casual. It's just the kind of stuff I would wear. But yeah,
I still adore him, even though I think Oh gosh, if he was asked to come back, I kind of think he would in a heartbeat, kind of like Matt Smith. Do I think he's going to be the 14th Doctor? No, it's not
I
going to be
don't
the
either,
14th
to be
Doctor.
honest. Because Radio Times have done a poll this week, haven't they, where they asked, do you want David? This was on Twitter as well. Guys, it's a real Twitter-flavoured episode this time,
Yeah.
Type 40 Extra. Twitter did a poll on... Twitter. Blah! Start again, Hadley. This is where I can't edit these shows. Okay, so the Radio Times did a poll on Twitter, didn't they? And the simple question was, would you like David Tennant to return, or would you like somebody completely new? And it came out quite resoundingly that people, the fan base, wanted somebody new. Does that surprise you?
No, not in the slightest, because I think if he did come back, it'd always be compared to what he previously did. And we know with the best will in the world, it's never quite as good. Like take Star Wars with the prequel trilogy. I do like those films. And, you know, they were made by George Lucas, never quite hit the heights of that original trilogy, even though it was done by the same person. So I just think no ground and completely new thing. I think he should still be involved. I mean, I'm hoping he's in this 60th special.
It wouldn't be the same without him, would it really?
Oh, no.
Somehow.
His name is still a massive draw, but no, I think, you know, he's moved on. You know, the fans need to move on. You know, he's wonderful in other things. I'm looking forward to season 2 of Good Omens that he's doing, and he'll always be that beloved part, especially, you know, for me, at the time that I discovered Doctor Who. But no, I don't want to see him again and him not
measure up, not
measure.
recapture.
I don't want that. It's a big ask for anyone. I mean, it's a big enough ask with Russell anyway, without, you know, adding David Tennant to it. No, they need new blood. We need new blood.
Because the way that Russell's been talking about it, I know we've talked about this extensively on Type 40 Live, but he says he wouldn't have come back to it if he didn't think he could bring something different. And as you say, to not be saddled, God, that sounds so ungrateful, but to have to work with the same leading man, I don't think that would excite Russell unless it was something celebratory. And we know that he's there for an extended period. We're not sure how extended it will be ultimately, but this isn't just a one gig. This is a definite creative next level he's going to take the show to, and he can't do that with the same guy.
No, I don't think so.
I have noticed, Sarah, you know where I'm going directly after we record this? I'm going shopping.
I'm going shopping.
I'm going to pick up my fruit and my veg. No, not that. I'm going to the supermarket, to the fruit and veg section, and I'm going to choose my fruit and veg and my canned goods. I'm doing the big shop basically. And whilst I'm there, I will also pick up the new edition of Doctor Who magazine. This is, I know, look at that cover. Yet another Jodie Whittaker cover that looks exactly the same somehow. They're always blue and gold. It's always the same photo shoot. We've got the ultimate interview with Chris Chibnall in there, Sarah. Heaven knows what delights await me between those pages. That's where I'm going directly after.
Joe, this is really hard for me to say because I used to love Doctor Who magazine, but I wouldn't wipe my bum with that interview.
Whoa. But I feel I should point out that there does look like a couple. I mean, any interview with Chris Chibnall, he's said so little since he's been in the showrunner's role. So you can't help but be curious about what he's got to say. But
I can already predict what he's going to say. When you buy it, you tell me if I'm right. We'll do a follow up to this.
Let's do a hit list. You tell me what you think he's going to say.
He's going to do a lot of complaining. He's going to moan about how hard it was to film 10 episodes in a year.
Yeah.
How arduous the shoot was. He's going to talk a lot about the pandemic. He's going to big up Jodie. He's going to big up Randip Girl. I think he's going to barely mention John Bishop because it's
he's the bloke, the Liverpudlian. Yeah.
And he's going to basically, just pat himself on the back. There's gonna be no reflection. You remember when Stephen Moffat got all that clapback about the Power Ranger Daleks?
Yeah.
And then he came out later on and said, well, yeah, actually.
Maybe they were a bad idea,
They
yeah.
weren't my best thing. No, there's going to be nothing of that. There's going to be no reflection. It's just going to be,
No.
we were wonderful. I did what I was going to talk about his stupid 5-year plan.
Oh, well, he either had depending on when you look at an interview from Chris Chibnall, bear in mind that he's only ever given about 4. So it's not exactly difficult to get lost amidst all this sort of wealth of interviews. Depending on which one you read, he either had this big 5-year plan or he had a 3-year pact. Know which one I believe. Because by all accounts that we hear, and I'm sticking to this, allegedly Chris Chibnall was removed from his showrunner's position. Everything you're seeing publicly is just flannel.
Yeah.
Isn't it,
Just,
Chris? And we understand
oh,
why.
The old smoke and mirrors, yes. I absolutely believe he had a 5-year plan and it got cut short. I don't believe.
He said it multiple times, and so did she.
I do believe that maybe Jodie wouldn't be there for the full 5 years, and maybe he was perhaps going to have another doctor. Maybe. Yeah. I could see that, but yeah, no, he messed up good and proper, and yeah, he wasn't going to get his 5 series. But yeah, wow. it'll be. This is what I meant to do. I had this vision.
Yeah, I've got a vision for you and all. Take a look at this. Consolidated figures are in for the Legend of the Sea Devils now, Sarah. Yeah. Got 3.34 million there for the consolidated figure after the iPlayer and whatever else over the.
I am surprised it got that many.
Me too.
Clearly, everybody watched our video and didn't agree with us and thought, I'm going to watch it for 2 minutes to bump it up.
Well, there we have it. It still means that Legend of the Sea Devils is the lowest audience for any 21st century Doctor Who episode. Yes. And in my view, that figure is slightly above the figure for Battlefield Part 1, but we don't know how many people taped Battlefield Part 1 on VHS back in 1989. We just don't have figures for that.
Yeah, and
so I think if we did...
There was less people in 1987 as well.
So it is. We're going back here now 33 years. So realistically, this is still a massive, massive failure. That's the book closed on Legend of the Sea Devils for now. We've had a lot of great responses. We said some great comments. So thank you everybody who commented on the last video that we put out, the last Type 40 Extra. More of the same, please. Let us know what you think of all of this in the comment section, and we'll get back to you with our thoughts there, or maybe here on a subsequent show. But we've been sent artwork as well. Do you want to see? This is another one from Kev Who Fan Man.
Yes,
he sent us the Titanic thing last time, so we've got this from Kev this time. Check it out. Now, why has he sent us Sooty Sweep and Sue there on set at Genesis of the Daleks? Do you want to shed some light on this?
I was kind of involved with this.
So I've only been.
So I've only been on Twitter 2 days, and I got talking to.
Causing trouble already.
Yeah, well, he got chatting to Retro Dicky, great guy. I think he watches.
Retro Dicky, yeah, he does follow.
He's one of our supporters, and a lovely guy, very funny. And I had retweeted. There was a picture of Sooty coming out of a police box, and the quote at the top was, "Maybe the rumors are true." And so I retweeted it and said, "Well, could be. It's apparently, the Doctor can regenerate into anybody now. Apparently,
it's only a matter of time."
Including cats, if you believe that little story with Novice Hane. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about it, but yeah, I do.
I'm so sorry for reminding you. But that was kind of what I was getting at. It was just, And then we just had a bit of fun, and then Retro Dicky shared sweepers at Davros, and then it got even sillier with.
It's still going on. This is
still going on, yeah, because we're just daft. We could have the sweeper man, and
the possibilities are endless. Let us know where that goes.
The Whovians, little Sue, and then it came up with we need to get Sooty and the gang in Genesis of the Daleks. So Kev stood up to the plate because he's a wonderful human being with probably too much time on his hands. And it just it brought. So yes, we've got Sooty, Sweep, and Sue in Genesis of the Daleks just for a bit of fun, and it just brightened my morning. It doesn't take much time, to be honest.
Yeah, well done, Kev. Thanks for that one, and can't wait to see where that goes. Might be some updates on that. Follow us Instagram and Twitter at Type40 Doctor Who for your ideas about which puppets, hand or string, you think would have been great in which episode of Doctor Who. Could have been the classic or the new series. There, let us know and some puns as well. We love a pun on Type40, don't we?
Clearly, the hand of fear. Clearly.
See, you've opened the what's the expression? Yeah, the ball is rolling on that. Yeah, yes. So let us know what you think of all of that. We've also got this too, if I can find it. Where are we? Yeah, so this, actually, you sent me this, and I was about to send it to you, but we have this picture too. What we were talking about last week with Janet Fielding and Sophie Aldred coming back to Doctor Who. Well, now they can talk about it a little because we know they're coming back. We know they were there and all the rest of it. So Janet Fielding has shared this picture up on Twitter, and I think you think it's as hilarious as I do, don't you? This is from the wrap party for the centenary special there. So it's Sophie with Janet and what looks like an Uber driver there stood in the middle. I don't necessarily trust that guy.
It's basically we've got Cruella de Vil, a sinister bus conductor, and the best quote I heard, which was Janet decided to dress up as JNT.
I think people would have wondered, but she is cosplaying there. Late great John Nathan Turner, who he's passed away 20 years ago, unbelievably, and obviously she was a personal friend of Janet's there, so it's all done with affection. It did make me laugh. It's the most I've ever laughed at anything that Chris Chibnall's been involved in. So thanks for that, Janet. And I hope it was a good night. I think it probably was. She did say in the tweet that she had to take the beard off after a while because she was sweating too much.
She goes, well, I mean, I've not had a lot of experience with beards, so I couldn't say, Janet, but I know we take the mickey, but to see them smiling like that, I'm sure that they had an absolute ball. Again, I just why did
we don't begrudge anybody a good time, do we? That's something that we
see Janet and Sophie. But fair play to him. They had fun, and sorry that image of Chris is going to haunt me for a while.
Yes, so you can go and follow Janet, on Twitter. Follow Janet Fielding on Twitter. Mouth on Legs, I think that's what she's called. And there's often lots of barbed wit, as you'd expect from Janet Fielding. There, dished out.
She's a very funny woman. She has some, definitely got some witty humour there. Some sarky humour as well, but I like sarky humour. That's fine.
And as it happens, if you're a fan of JNT, or if you're intrigued by JNT and his time on the show, which of course stretched throughout, for about 15 years, I suppose, but I'm talking specifically about the time where he was the producer of Doctor Who from 1980 through till 1989. You're going to want to hear the very next episode of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast. That's coming next week. We've got a fascinating, in-depth interview with one man in particular who knows probably more now about JNT and his time making Doctor Who than anyone else. It's a fascinating conversation. It's a funny conversation. and we can guarantee, you'll come away from it knowing the man, knowing JNT that little bit more, and perhaps revise a few opinions of him. I don't know, but that's coming next week. Keep a lookout for that here on the channel. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you get the notifications about when we drop that. You're going to need to hit the cloister bell for everything we've got coming over the next few weeks before we bring back Type 40 Live. Yes, it is coming. I can't wait. It's been a couple of weeks since we did that. Can't wait to bring it back. But we're all having a bit of a rest. Simon's moved house. He's happy. He's unpacking boxes probably as we speak. And
he's probably listening to this while he's doing it.
He could well be. But I also want to say Barnaby Jago as well. If you're out there watching, Barnaby's also been struck down with COVID too. And I do hope that he's feeling better, recovering from that. He's obviously a regular on Type 40 Live. It
Get well soon, Barnaby. We miss
you. Do indeed. So what have you got to do? Leave us a comment if you'd like to get back to us on any of the things that we've been talking about. This huge, massively significant development of Twitter being bought by Elon Musk. And have you noticed a change? Are you a Twitter user, or will you be a Twitter user if the culture there changes? Did you leave like Sarah did, for example? Let us know, please do. And your thoughts on David Tennant too. Would you prefer somebody new, or do you think that it really does need Tennant to come back? Lydia West, should she be involved somewhere on the line? And what else were we talking about, Sarah? What other nonsense have we been babbling on about?
Sooty and Sweet.
Sooty. Just like the lady says, more Sooty. Yes, those puppets. Which puppets would look good in either the classic or new series of Doctor Who, or should the next Doctor be a puppet or be animated? God. Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who. But as always, Sarah, thanks for your company. I've had a good time.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to all our listeners. I hope we've made you smile. Yes. Cheers.
Right in the evening a little, but we'll be back again with more of this, or that, or whatever soon enough. We'll take care. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.